Greetings, exiles. Here we go on a new journey. This time in the solo self-found league. I have been thinking about the build I want to play for a long time and decided that champion armor stacker is just what I need. I already had a video about this archetype on my channel, but this time I decided to try a slightly different build. Besides, armor stacker in SSF is a cool challenge and could turn into an interesting video. Unfortunately, I can't immediately become an armor stacker because I need a lot of equipment. So I'm starting my journey as a generic Smite champion with an axe and precise technique. Smite is a very powerful skill, and I can already use it from the second act when I gain access to this mastery. It's a pretty strong build, so I completed the campaign fairly quickly. It would be nice if I could find a transfigured version of this gem, but unfortunately, I couldn't. It's no big deal. I won't waste time on the lab, but rather move on to the main part of the game. But first, a small planning, because without a good plan, it will be very difficult to gather all the gear I need. For starters, I need these unique items. Whispers of Infinity is a drop from this boss, and as you can see, it has a very high drop rate, so I won't have any problems with this amulet. Replica Dreamfeather can be found in Heist, and it's also a very common item. But the Heist itself takes a lot of time. And this helmet can be found in the Breach. Although the Formless Flame is very easy to find, but I plan to spend a lot of time in the Breach. First, I need several of these helmets for double corruption. Second, the Breach is a very good source of experience, and the Armor Stacker is a build that requires level 100, because every level is important there. The last thing is Breach Rings, which can be exchanged for this armor. It has special modifiers. And first of all, I am interested in this one. However, the chance that I will find what I need and then be able to transfer this modifier to a good base using recombinators is very small. But it's worth a try. As I said earlier, all these items are very common, but they still take time to find. That's why I need a good and optimal atlas. My first atlas will be like this. Kind of like Boss Rush. The more maps we can run through, the greater our chances of finding Incarnation of Dread. And this strategy is perfectly complemented by Heist because it requires a minimum of time. We just find the smuggler's cache and that's it. Destructive Play also complements the Atlas because it doesn't require much time either, but at the same time we get the Elder and Conqueror maps we need. And the last mechanic is Syndicate. To be honest, it doesn't go very well with Boss Rush. But if you know what it does, it's not a big deal, considering that this mechanic can give you some very cool items. So it's worth it. Next, I need these items. And getting them isn't very easy because I can't target farm them. So my best chance is Harbingers and Ancient Orbs. And of course, my luck. I also need a lot of clusters, which means Delirium. So my second atlas will be like this. Here I have Delirium, Breach, and Harbingers. At first glance, it doesn't look quite optimal because each of these mechanics requires scarabs, and combining them is not a very good idea. But the main reason why I made this particular atlas is that I don't have an infinite number of orbs of unmaking, and I can't constantly rebuild my atlas. So I made this pseudo-universal atlas for the mechanics I need. This is basically the main part of my planning, and I won't bore you with my yapping anymore. Let's move on to the implementation of my grand plans. And one last thing. If you want to learn more about Armor Stacker, be sure to check out this channel. It has a lot of useful and interesting information. The first stage is to complete the atlas and obtain 2 Void Stones. But to do that, I need to upgrade my starting gear somehow. Usually, I use Expedition for this. But this time, I decided not to stray from my main plan and skip Expedition. Mercenaries will be my main source of loot because they have some pretty good items. In this journey, I will pay for my starting equipment with iron instead of gold. The Syndicate setup is complete. Not the best, but it will do for a start. Let's see what we can find there. Early 6 links. Just what I need. Cool armor. Not for my build, but still a nice find. And a few more gifts from Bravicious. Thanks, friend. Last lab. Now I can go to battle with the quest bosses to get my first Void Stones. This shield could be useful for my mercenary. No good loot. Sad. And another boss. I got the amulet I needed on my first try. Nice. First name Lassier. Nothing interesting. Next time for sure. More good stuff. Very good boots. Nice upgrade. I love Syndicate. So far, my journey has been quite successful, but I realized that if I want to move forward, I need more damage. Axe and precise technique are no longer relevant at this stage. And I need Paradoxica. This unique sword can be found in the Intervention Syndicate. But to do that, I need to slightly destroy the connections in the Syndicate that I've been building all this time. Not the best plan, but there are no other options. Maybe I should have thought about this during the planning stage, but I hoped that I would have enough damage without Paradoxica. But I was wrong. I was able to find this sword fairly quickly. Unfortunately, these are not the best modifiers. But I'll use what the game gave me because I don't want to waste time looking for a second Paradoxica. Now I need a rare rapier, and of course, Gamba is the best way to get such an item. Not bad for a starter. A few small changes to the skill tree and I can continue on my way. Nice. I need this gem. Well, I think it's time for the heist. Everyone's favorite mechanic of opening endless doors. Pretty quick. Random divine orbs. I'll take that with me too. And one more sword. I am done with heist. For now. Very good. Well, I already have the first items for the armor stacker, but there is still a lot of work ahead. But I think it's time to get the last Void Stones. Cool. Now it's time for Breach and Delirium. But I decided to change my plans a little, because I need scarabs for these mechanics. And in the current metagame, the Abyss is the best strategy, which gives a lot of scarabs and other valuable items. And here many of my viewers have a question: how do you plan to open Abyss hordes, since you don't have access to caster mastery? With my hands. Of course. It sounds awful, but what can I do? Besides, a few thousand extra clicks are no big deal. Right? But there's a lot of loot here, and it's worth it. Frankly, I could do this forever, but I need to take a break for the breach. Unexpected. And now I can skip the Breachstone prison, but on the other hand, I've stockpiled a lot of Breachstones and I can't skip a good grind. and breach rings Gamba. No luck. It happens. Harbingers and sweet ancient orbs. And fracturing shards. It's time to try my luck again. Nice shield, but not for this build. Now this is what I want. And now it's time for Mage Blood. Nice belt, but it's pretty late. On the other hand, better late than never. This time without Mage Blood. Sorry. Here are the clusters I found. First crafting session in this journey. Alteration Orb Spam. For starters, I need some simple clusters just so I can swap to Armor Stacker. And large clusters. Also Alteration Orb Spam. And Chaos Orb Spam. Always works. Well, another stage is finished. Now I need 2 rings, a belt, and body armor. For rings and the belt I need essences. So, a new atlas. Essences. Harvest. 4 essences swap. And Nico for Azurite, which I can exchange for resonators, which I will need in the future. And of course, my favorite Syndicate. Just for fun. Okay, let's craft some rings. Not a bad start. Blocking mana and Holy Slam. No way. Just what I need. Benchcraft and I got a pretty solid ring. The second ring is pretty mediocre, but it'll do for now, and then I'll make something better. Belt. Not bad overall. Body armor. I spent a lot of dust but still couldn't get armor with at least 3 good modifiers. So here's this weird benchcraft and call it a day because I don't want to waste any more time on this armor. I still need to make this video and you're probably already waiting for it. And one last thing about body armor. I used this base instead of necrotic armor because I need 6 red sockets and it's not realistic to get them on another base. And the final touch is Blight. I need 2 golden oils. Finally, I've found all the necessary items and now I can do a swap to Armor Stacker. Let's test it. Overall, it's not bad, and I'd like to note right away that our defense has become much better. And the recovery energy shield on block complements our defense well. However, our damage has decreased, which is not very good. Although this is not surprising. Armor Stacker requires more investment, and I have a very basic version. But my main goal was to put together a minimal build and then continue to improve it. But to do this on Armor Stacker and not on some other build. However, if we replace the shield with a second sword, the damage becomes much better and more comfortable, although we lose a lot of defense. And it's very difficult for me to decide which build to go with shield or with dual swords. Most likely, I will continue to play with the shield until I reach level 99, because it's a safer option. And then I'll just switch to dual swords for more damage. To be honest, I spent a lot of time collecting all this stuff. And like I said at the start of this video, it's more of a challenge than the usual 0 to hero. But it was actually a lot of fun because I did various mechanics that made my journey more interesting. But this is just the start. I need a timeless jewel, which means Legion grind. I need more swords, helmets, and boots for double corruption, which means more breach, heist, and magic find. I need to recraft my clusters and other gear. I also plan to do simulacrum and hunt for voices. And of course, the Holy Grail, Mageblood. That means magic find, rogue exiles, abyss for Valdo puzzle boxes and divination cards farm, or maybe Alva and shrines. And that's a lot of content. But all of that will be in the next parts. And now it's time to say goodbye. Thank you all for watching and commenting. I appreciate it. Also, I would be very grateful for your likes and subscriptions. Bye everyone, and see you in the new video.